so let me ask you this question. There's one country in the world that has more of its citizens living outside than inside. Do you know what country that is?
Cabo Verde.
Of course. It's the only country.
Why are you...
It's
Did you hear how he said Cabo Verde?
Cabo Verde.
Cabo Verde has a population of 580,000 living there.
That's just, I mean,
But it has 800,000 living
Outside.
the country. It's the only country where its diaspora population is greater than
the actual population at home
in the country, and so it's a thing, and so they talk a lot about this. They make lots of songs, films. People have written books about it. It's a big thing, and they have this thing they call saudade, which is a kind of a longing for home. You want to travel, but once you travel, you're always wishing you were back home. So it's become a big thing for them.
But the thing is, honestly, most of the Gambians that I talk to that travel, they be like, we love our country. We want to be in the Gambia, but most of the time they're like, we have families to feed. The situation is difficult. For example, even a salary of $50,000 in the Gambia currently cannot do anything. Not to talk of somebody getting paid 10,000, 3,000, 5,000 a month. Like, guys, how are these people doing this?
2005.
Oh my God.
So it's true. I mean, so that longing to travel that you mentioned is there. And as you said, for the Fulas, that's why you find them across the length and breadth of Africa, really, not just West Africa. And yeah, it's a thing.
Well, I mean, it's good that Jenabo mentioned the trend of traveling these days. I mean, now people are traveling like no one's business. I mean, when you look at the other times,
especially
now they have a place where they converge, especially those using the back way. Now they have a place to converge in the morning, and they go. I mean, most of the people that I know, they've left. You know, some of them left their families here. Some of them left their parents here, and they travel.
I'm even aware of people buying visas, which is happening as well. Most of the time, the agent will charge you up to 300,000. So I'm like, you're paying 300,000. You can use that to start a business, for example. Why should I use 300,000 to go to another country? Well, I think sometimes
the reason is people are afraid to risk it. I mean,
to risk starting a business.
To risk starting a business. I mean, when you start a business, maybe let's say, okay, a shop. You understand? If you are not able to manage the shop well, you will run to losses.
I think
that's why most of them try using. I mean,
no, it's a kind of short-sightedness. There was an incident in 2019 when 37 people were arrested, and we were alerted to it at QTV because 12 of the people arrested were Sierra Leoneans, and so they wanted me to speak to them. But what I found fascinating was that when we went to speak to the people there was a family of 4 Gambians that we spoke to, and they said that a brother of theirs who was living in France had sent the money, $2,500 each, for them to go on that boat trip. That's $10,000.
That's a lot of money.
I mean, come on.
In Gambia.
and so I said to them, well, why didn't you guys think you could start a business with that here in the Gambia? That's a lot of money. And that had not even occurred to them. And so for many people, that thought just does not occur, that I could use this money to start a business or do something here. It is, I'm going to use this to go, because if I go, I can earn more
money,
and I can start sending straight away.
You know, before people think about, okay, now when I leave the Gambia and embark on the irregular journey, I might die there. But now people don't think about
that. Because people are so frustrated.
Now what you think about is, I want to go, and you start making plans.
But then also, in as much as we are thinking about that aspect of it all, the other aspect as well is, you know, the lack of opportunities maybe to them, you know, or the lack of opportunities.
It's very narrow.
Things are tight currently. Things are tight.
I think
that's part of the reality.
No, the reason I'm smiling is because when you say things are tight, why is it then that you have people from other countries coming to the Gambia?
That was my point. I talked about that.
To take jobs that should be done by Gambians.
And it's working for them.
We had an incident recently where I was just walking by a building site and I heard these guys speaking Creole. And I was a bit surprised. And I said, are all of you guys Sierra Leoneans?
They are all.
And he said, yeah. I said, this is just like a laborer job. Why, you know? When I spoke to the foreman, he said, I'm a Gambian. He said, but my fellow Gambians don't want to do this job.
With that.
He said, even though it's well paid, it's hard work. And this is like 2 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, by the way. So I'm not.
Well, I know what you mean.
And you know the place I'm
that is
talking
why
about.
I said it also has to do with upbringing. When these kids are born, how are they brought up? For example, the Fullers, you are brought up in an environment where it's all about entrepreneurship. So you have that mindset that I have to fend for myself when I grow. But then in the Gambian context, you are not raised in those conditions. You are raised in a condition where the person who goes to Europe is the person that is important in the family, for example, and the person working in the Gambia is less important.
You know, the other day I was discussing with my son and my wife. My son was telling me, I mean, Dad, you know this guy, Monjai, you know the other guy, they all went, they are on their way to Bagwe. I said to my wife, look at your son.
He's aware.
I said, this guy is talking about this.
It's an obsession.
And the boy is less than 15. I said to my wife, don't be surprised. One day they will call you from Mali or Niger. And my wife said, then I will die. Then I'm going to die.
But then why did you tell your wife, listen to your son?
No. I'm just trying to advise.
Okay, I'm just asking. I just want to understand what was going on
there.
But
what I said
to her... Go talk to your son. Don't be like, listen to your son.
No, I advised him. Because at the end of the time, the whole pressure will come back to me with that. Because he will be the one to be sending the money. I'll be the one to be doing the communication. You understand? So I told him, if you go, I mean, it's going to be hard on us, but it will be harder.
So that is why, at that age is when you educate them and change their mindset.
So it's very significant. But Mr. Ade, let us also try to look at the realities on the ground. You understand? Today, most of the people that are supposed to empower our young people, you know, we have this. I mean, most of us think the government should take care of its citizens. You understand? To provide certain things for them. But it is very sad. Most of the governments we have today, all they talk about, all they want to do is to see how to sustain themselves in power. You understand? And people are tired of this.
Across Africa.
Across Africa. So this is why most of the youths embarked on this backway journey.
I'm not, like we said, I mean, for me, that argument doesn't hold much water because, as I said, if Gambian youths are saying, I want to go back way because, and then youths from Sierra Leone, from Guinea, from other countries are coming here, what does that tell you? That there are opportunities
here.
They
are, we just
but Gambians are not seeing it. They don't even want to look at it. They're blind. It's like a blind spot.
Opportunities in my country.
Gentlemen, I think that is what we have
No,
time
you will
for.
allow me to land.
Okay.
Maybe the opportunities in my country doesn't favor its citizens.
The laborer jobs.
But maybe it favors the one from Sierra Leone or Guinea.
Why?
That's the
point I'm making. Why?
Then why didn't the Sierra Leone guy,
because here it's become an obsession.
The Guinean guy
with wanting to leave.
The Guinean guy or the guy from Sierra Leone should have stayed in their country if at all it favors them.
No, because they look for opportunities here.
That's
population-wise, it's different.
You know, we
Nigeria, for example, it's a lot of
people. Gambian guy want to go to Nigeria, Ghana, where
they will not.
The obsession is to want to go to Europe.
Beyond.
It's always to Europe.
So it's different narratives.
Well, it depends. When you talk to the guy, the
young
people, they will also. For me, I have one notion. Like,
anyway,
Duma dem Bagwe. I'm not going to Bagwe.
So if you don't see him next week, he's gone.
But thank you so much, Mr. Ade, for joining us. So we'll just go for a short break, and when we come back, like we mentioned, Mr. Ade, in the introduction, we'll be joined by Madam Aissata Dey, who's the outgoing UNDP country representative. You know, this is an individual who has over 20 years of experience in the UN and UNDP, security sector reform, gender-related matters. And it came into the Gambia at a time that, you know, we needed support the most, part of the transitional justice process. And she's leaving us now. And you mentioned that as media, we eventually get used to them.
We love her. And I have to say on record that I, for one, will miss her being here. And she's been very accommodating to us. And I think she's left her mark. And whoever comes to succeed her has some big boots to fill. So, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We'll just go for a short break, and when we come back, she'll be joining us.
The art of juggling is a true spectacle of agility, coordination, and speed. A symbol of progression, precision, and mastery. 5G speed is like having the juggler in your pocket.
This looks amazing.
with lightning-fast download and upload speeds. You'll easily be able to juggle even the busiest workdays. Whether you're a busy entrepreneur, a creative, or just someone who wants to stay connected. Juggle your tasks with ease with QCell 5G speed. The future is here. It's fast, reliable, and efficient. First brought to you by QCell. We innovate, others follow.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
QCell brings you the future with our ultimate bundles. Enjoy the best voicing.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. Ibrahim, like I mentioned, we're joined by Madam Aissata Dey, who's the UNDP resident representative in the Gambia.
Yeah.
Outgoing.
Wow.
Like Mr. Ade said, we got used to your presence and everything, quite accommodating. And then today we'll just be reflecting on a lot of things, your journey coming to Gambia, some of the challenges as well as the successes. But to start with, what was your perception at the time that you were informed that you'll be serving in the Gambia?
I was delighted. Good morning first.
Good
morning.
And thank you for welcoming us as UNDP. And, you know, first time I came in the Gambia, I was a teenager because my school was twinned with Nusrat High School.
Right.
So I was about 17 years. I came here to play basketball. And then I came back later on in the 90s to take part of the sessions of the African Commission of Human Rights. And then after the coup, I didn't have any opportunity to come back. So when I was, so Gambia in the list, of course it was my natural choice because I was serving in Southern Africa, East Africa, even in Asia. And I thought that at the moment I was coming here in a transition period, my experience would have been useful for the Gambia. So serving in the Gambia was really like giving everything that I could share, but also learning from this very particular period that is a history. So it was, it's why I just can say that I was very, very delighted to land here after those years I just mentioned, because I also participated in the formulation of what they call the Maputo Protocol, which is the protocol to the African Charter on Human Rights. So it was really, I would say that it's a privilege to have been able to pass the last 4 years. That was very fulfilling for the Gambians, for the UN, because again, we are here to support the Gambia in its development agenda. And everything you've seen is not only me, it's the whole team. And most of our country offices, people, when they focus on the leadership, they forget that almost 90% of our personnel is Gambian. I was listening to what your previous program was saying, but there are quite many opportunities here. And I was very proud to see young Gambians who were behind the scene, working on the TRRC, on all these overlapping processes. That is very rare, because most of the time these processes are sequenced. You know, you can have when you have
hierarchy.
Not the hierarchy, but when you talk about truth and reconciliation, usually when you have a peace process, you have a peace agreement that is signed. But here you had somehow transition, peaceful transition, because there were no fight when the former president left. But yet, the processes that were unfolding was typically a post-crisis processes.
Yeah, you've served in other countries as well, East Africa, and how is it like serving in the Gambia with different culture, different people, different system? Just tell us, how is it like to serve in the Gambia?
As I said, it's a great really to serve in the Gambia, especially at this moment, because you can feel that the Gambia want to build a new country, and they're doing it differently. And I think the first sign is the ownership of these processes, because again, it's not us who, as UN, who are here, or UNDP, to substitute to the Gambian. So if you look at the TRRC, for instance, the way it was conducted, all the session was broadcast live, and then it was translated into 4 local languages to make sure that people know what is going on. And now it's become a good practice. And then, as I said, you might not have seen the people who were behind it, but it was a huge young team that was conducting everything, preparing the sessions, doing the work. And then you have a very diverse commission that really reflect the society. And likewise, you take the National Human Rights Commission, which is a permanent institution that is being has been set for the first time in the Gambia, and that already marked its stand. Everybody respect them, they are very accountable, but at the same time they are also contributing in raising awareness, not only on civil and political rights, but also on socio-economic and cultural rights.
Yes. So what other successes can you point at during your time? You already mentioned the TRRC, which your office supported. You also mentioned the National Human Rights Commission, which you have also collaborated with to do activities. So what other major successes can you point at during your time?
Yeah, I can, because, you know, UNDP is a development agency. We are here to bring all the stakeholders together to contribute to the development agenda and for the achievement of the SDGs. And there's a program, which is a program for accelerated community development, that is really looking at the most vulnerable and seeing what are their needs. And this program in the Gambia that has been funded 100% by the government of the Gambia has invested in providing basic social services like access to water, electricity, and giving them even labor service device. And we know that when you go back to rural areas that have been very vulnerable, because the way that the program has been designed was very inclusive, and it was done through a feasibility study that was realized for the Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And the Gambia started doing it. And now you have DRC, Senegal started it a long time ago. And we've seen that is the main approach for community development. This is one of the major achievements that we have, but also elections. I mean, you know, I think the marble is like the smiling coast of Africa. Is like a signature for Gambia, and it's unique. But the simplicity and the transparency of this electoral system has proven that it's possible to have peaceful elections. But what I really admired from the electoral process, that is something that is a good practice to share, was the behavior in the polling stations across, whether it's electoral agents, security people, representative of political parties. You are all citizens, you all voted. You can tell that you went to vote, you went back home, you had no stress, no fear. So I think this has been a very successful, and we contributed to this electoral process in a very strategic manner, without even having many resources, but we made sure that especially the local electoral commission had the means to do their work in a very efficient manner. So I think it's a pride for all Gambians, especially when you know what is going on in the sub-region, or where most of the time elections are a source of tension. And what Gambia also has done very well was to bring the security to protect all candidates. It's very rare to see that. And the police has played a key role. And I know that the closer the police is with the population, the better the country will be off, because you have new threats like all kinds of human trafficking, drug trafficking, and even radicalization ramping up. So if the police is close to the population by serving, and especially in critical moments like this, people will better appreciate their role and have them close, and so that if they see something wrong, they can tell it.
So also one of the most recent projects that I can say maybe visibly that you've also overseen within this short period is the graduate program with the NYSS and the University of the Gambia. I think for me, that is amazing and a brilliant initiative when it comes to building the Gambia's human capital, you know.
Indeed. You were talking about why Gambians are all taking the boat and, you know, feeling that they are desperate. And imagine if you are a graduate, you all the way through from secondary to primary to university, and then yet you don't have a job. And we did this pilot with the UTG that we really thank again for the collaboration, but also with the Ministry of Youth, and now they have taken it to the level, other level. And the initial cohort we had, they were all employed, almost. And they were in the institution at local level, and some of them were even hired at very important level, especially the female ones, in banks. So to give them the possibility, it's like when we have the United Nations volunteers who are coming, starting their career or even at the end of their career, to bringing their will to contribute. So I think it's a good opportunity, it's a great, and I hope your company will also absorb some of them, because these are people who are coming with knowledge, and they are ready to be part of the professional life. But allow me to also mention one very proud achievement that we had when the COVID struck. We were all desperate, and nobody knew. We were in a mode of uncertainty. And we tried to transform some of the issue into opportunities. Right. And you see the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, which is called Ndeban. Yeah. You know, we engage with the private sector and the World Bank and WHO, and to do something that will go beyond the pandemic. And now it's a full-fledged hospital, and we started from scratch. And what is also fulfilling is that the Gambia, we realized that Gambia was buying oxygen, you know, in the market, and most of the time industrial oxygen. And for the first time, the Gambia now is producing oxygen nationwide with the same partner, but also with the global fund that came to support the process and strengthen the health sector. And of course, you know that there's the government, which we really thank, because we really need to thank the government and the private sector, the civil society, all stakeholders that give us space to contribute and support. So to have this type of actions, now the diaspora is stepping in, and they will have, you know, hemodialysis system. So I see in few years the Gambia being a destination not only for tourism, but tourism combined with health care. And I think it's possible to do it. So really we have, you know, these are just to name some. And
although you've mentioned some of the successes and some of the things that you've been doing, I am pretty sure there must be things that are pending, and you wish you can achieve those things before you leave. So can you share those things with us?
Well, you know, I'm just here to bring my humble contribution, and together with a wonderful team I have, and I really want to thank them from my heart, and because these are very dedicated people that you might not see every day, but they are really the ones who are doing the work with all the institutions and stakeholders that I just mentioned. We know that there are still building blocks. You know, the TRRC is a long process. You know, now we are going through the judiciary, the reconciliation, but we also know that the constitutional reform is key and is restarting. And I'm confident that the Gambia will have a constitution that will align and match with what the people need. And this is also where UNDP will continue, because it's not that I'm the one who will realize everything. UNDP has been here for over 50 years, and they will continue to support together with other UN agencies, because it's really a UN family. But we are also working closely with the partners. For instance, the European Union, you will be invited soon for the launching, but you are there when it was unveiled, the great project that will support the constitutional reform, the judiciary and local governance for the next 3 years, over €9 million. So this is something that we signed recently, and the team will be on the ground to make it happen, in addition to the budget support that the European Union is provided. And the other area that is of concern, that is important for the Gambia, is a successful security sector reform. Because we know that without security it's difficult to talk about development. And I want to appeal to the Gambian to say that security is not only to have forces and start numbering them, it's really for the people to contribute to their own security, to make sure that the new threats that we are seeing, they are flagged at the very early stage, right. And every Gambian need to really make sure that there's a guardian of the gains that has been achieved throughout the years, because these are not gains that are being achieved overnight. And it's important to really have this social, whole society approach to all the sectors that we mentioned, because all our countries are facing new challenges linked to the global context. Inflation is high-rocking, and the daily work life is very difficult for many people who have no access to some services. So it's important really to continue doing that as a society in a good social
So before
cohesion.
we move on, let's take a look at gender a little bit. We focus on the security sector, TRRC, CRC. Now that you leave, what is your perception of gender-related matters in the Gambia, taking a look at women representative in politics, harmful traditional practices, and the list goes on?
Yeah, I started on my professional career as a gender activist, I would say, human rights. I told you that I was one of the draft of the Maputo Protocol. So for me, Gambia has very strong base to really lift the woman where they are. We have seen a lot of remarkable leadership from women, but yet the numbers are not there yet. Because you know that the threshold for the African Union is at minimum 30% representative, and some countries even have the parity. And this is, again, is not only for women to fight for the space. It's for the society to realize that as long as you don't have the woman well represented, it means that there are things that we need to fix, because you cannot have real development without having full representation of women. And on the harmful practices, whether the harmful says it all. These are harmful, and everything that is harmful has to be get rid of our society. So we cannot just have double standards saying, oh, you do it at this level, it will be, and it's not aligned to any belief, because when all the religions are telling us we should not harm each other. So to have a little girl who's going through traditional practices that are proven with a health impact on their lives, I think we should not close our eyes on it, whether we are female or male. And our tradition, our reserve, our dignity, most of the time people can suffer without talking about it. But the people who have the voice need to raise their voice. I can give you an example. When we were drafting the Maputo Protocol, if you remember well, maybe you are much younger than me, before, when a woman is raped, she's the one who has to go and report it. That was the legal pathway. And then we said, you cannot be raped with all the trauma and the society and go and explain. So many was raped and they were keeping silent. So we had the disposition that is saying, aligned with the human rights, that if a peer person, even if you hear somebody complaining or you notice something, you can go and report it to the police. So it has been a big change. And rape is even as a crime in many countries, especially it's even considered as a war behavior. So just to come back to the harmful practices, whether it's female genital mutilation or any harmful practices, people really need to be vigilant so that the young people can fulfill their lives and even put the bar higher than where their parents were. I think this is what we are all aspiring to, and we are appealing to everybody to just think back, especially on the health impact, because everybody, maybe the sensitization need to be relaunched through media, through everybody, because people might not be aware to what extent, because these are very intimate, so people might not disclose what they are going through. But the doctors are here, and I think when the law was passed, there was a whole campaigning to explain to the society, and this has to be redone again for people to know that we are not taking people, Gambians are not having two sides of, but it's a time maybe to take stock and look at those impacts on that.
When you look at FGM itself, I think sometimes there's a miscommunication. Some people might think maybe people advocating to discourage the act, they are against religion. You understand? So it's important you mentioned there should be enough sensitization so that people can understand, you know, the health implications sometimes. And, you know, to be very honest, there are health implications, you know. So I think that needs to be communicated without shouting. It needs to be communicated without people thinking, as well, you know, they are against the religion. Because most of the time, that's what people think. That's the notion they have.
You know, when it comes to religion, sometimes people are it can be a lot of confusion. Many things are put under religion when they are not. We've seen even terrorist act happening, and they will say under religion. Everybody knows that when you kill somebody, you cannot say it's religion that allow it. So just to come back to say that I agree with you. That the sensitization is key, and sensitization is throughout, from one generation to another. You can compare to any other processes, like even the elections. The more you vote, the better you are voting, because people are aware, and they know, and they are interested. So we cannot just have a law without having it known. And this is a Gambian issue. It's not something that is imported. When we talk about harmful practice, and you can look at all the research you've done, all the countries are looking at it to preserve their people. And again, there's also an aspect related to radicalization that we need to be very much aware. So look at what are the signs that you know, those forces are using to penetrate our society. And because everything that happened elsewhere is not like we are immune. So we need to prepare very early, and you will have to play a very key role on those type of
so
awareness.
let's you know, put away the seriousness for a little bit, you know, and focus on your fun memories. So what has been your fun, you know, most fun memories, you know, working for UNDP, you know,
I think
with your colleagues as well?
You know, I love the artists, you know, I don't want to name them, but we have fun memories whereby everything, all the message that we are having has been translated in a very light language through the artists that we've been collaborating with. And then our colleagues also, you know, we had time together, and I really thank all of them, the Deputy Nana Chimbuya, and my successor will be arriving on Monday. Her name is Mandisa Mushugulu. She's from Lesotho. But really, the spirit that has been created in the country office as a culture of peace, but also of breaking the silence, to make sure that people feel like they are in a family and having fun at the same time. And I also remember, you know, when I arrived in 2019, the first thing we did was a nationwide tour with a lot of your colleagues, many of your colleagues, and to explain those different processes. And we went through with different representatives of the institutions and also the private sector. Mr. Taff, who came to accompany us to tell his experience. And I think it's important to sometimes value preeminent Gambians who played the role. You know, you have the Chief Justice, for instance, former RBA, UN, who's Mr. Jane, Abdullah Jane, to name some of them, and you know, former Vice President Fatmata Tambajan. You have very, very strong personalities in this country that the young people should sometimes, even in a Sunday, just go and visit, just to listen to them. Because these are, for me, it's like libraries that you're having next to you. And even in your family, even if they are you have not people that, you know, have been having high functions, just to listen to people who have, for them to tell their stories is a very learning curve for all of us. And I think what I learned from the Gambia is this connection. I really felt home here, and many will say that I feel home everywhere I go. But Gambia is a very particular place, and everybody who comes here feels that energy. And I pray that everybody keeps it and nurture it on a daily basis, because you see it every day in your family, and everything else is.
So how was the food? The food wasn't an issue, right? Because you know, are you an Ebe type of person?
Well,
or the Chebujan, she knows the
Chebujan. The Benichin here, and the Wanjo, and the plazas, which is I discover here. But you know, and so many meals that, and I really thank also all friends. You know, Ida, I just want to mention her because Ida Cham, who, you know, we all know. When I came here I was like 16 or 17 years. We were coming to play basketball, and we couldn't go to hotels. So all our schoolmates had to line up, and then the Gambian would choose and she's the one who chose me to stay with her and her family for all my stay. So and you see now she had she's even bringing tourists to teach them how to cook and know the society. So these are very wonderful experience, and to see how Gambian is really not sharing the landscape, but the spirit that you can feel across political parties, across society, within the private sector, within government. This is really what I'm taking with me, and I will nurture for every.
So what next? Now, or we can't.
Next, well, I always say that we are soldiers of development. We'll go for duty for another place. I will go back for a transition for a few months to headquarters, and then I will move to another country once all the administrative issues will be solved. And I hope I will remain in the sub-region, because I've been away for quite some time. I always say that I have a baby face, and people think that I'm very young, but I've been around for quite some time. And I really thank you, especially the media, because you have an education role, educative role, whether it's broadcast media, social media, and it's always important to be mindful to the youngest, to always have peaceful messages. The Peace Building Fund has been investing a lot in the Gambia. Everywhere they have done it, since I was working in Burundi in the Great Lakes, we've seen results in cooling down and making sure that people are focused on development. And once this transition will pass, the only focus the Gambian will have will be development. And you have great leaders to move forward the country. And the whole continent and the world are looking for you. The president was saying that the United Nations Secretary General is always saying 2 words when he thinks of Gambia, is admiration and support. And I think this is something that all Gambians need to keep in mind. And I thank you very, very much.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Alabarka.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerejef. Thank you. So I'm afraid that is all we have time for, Ibrahim.
And thank you, Mariam.
Yes.
Mariam has been wonderful.
She's somebody you can always, talk to on phone. She doesn't tell me, write an email.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Those flexible communications officers are what we need. But thank you so much once again.
Thank you for everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
And to the youth, that you are the next gen. All the world is in your hands.
Right,
so thank you.
But he's not a youth anymore.
He is.
And for some reason, he wants to become one.
He is.
Everybody wants to be a youth. You're not a youth anymore. No.
I'm a youth.
And please take your son everywhere you go, so that he knows that the opportunities are here.
Yes, he will get to see things. All right. So thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.